And now, live from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Good morning, Middle Georgia, and welcome to Your Money. We are Randy and Sherri Goss with Rosenberg Financial Group, and as financial advisors, the main thing that we do is provide retirement planning advice and manage our clients' investment accounts. So if you're looking for a financial advisor, please contact our office to set up your complimentary consultation. Our office number is 478-922-8100, and we have offices in Macon and Warner Robins for your convenience. To find out more about us, visit our website, retirerelax.com, where you can read a number of special reports and listen to past radio show broadcasts. And you can sign up to receive our digital feeds, which provide great information on various subjects in short video format. We also offer free seminars to the community, so please give us a call if you're looking for a guest speaker.
And I just booked another one.
Oh, good.
Congratulations.
I'm excited. Yeah, this is good. Let's see. If you'd like to call into the show today, call 478-742-0940, or you can send me an email with your questions, which we will cover in a future broadcast. And Jordan West, I don't know, he did a great weather forecast, and he said we have a cold snap coming in, and I just looked at it. It's going to be 60s and 80s. I'll take it.
60s when?
Next week.
60s as a high?
No, 60s is like when you get up in the morning with a high of 80s, in the 80s.
Oh, very nice.
But yeah, I'll take a cold snap, Right. Hey, and before we get started, I wanted to let everybody know, in case you come downtown Macon and you use the parking apps that are on your phone, we used to have one called Passport, and that has been replaced by Park Mobile. And I wondered why my parking app wasn't working. I've not heard about this anywhere. But anyway, be aware that Passport app had one zone, and it was very easy. You just clicked on it, and you're basically it filled in everything else for you. The Park Mobile has several apps, several zones. So please check the map on there and kind of know where you're at in the city, because that makes a difference.
And what's the name of the app?
It is Park Mobile.
Park Mobile.
Yep. So it's good to know. So.
I don't have any of these things on my phone.
Yes, you do.
I do?
You just don't use them.
I never drive.
Miss Technology.
I'm terrible at technology. Randy has to fix all my stuff. Anyway, stock market closed down for the week. And here's what's fascinating. I met with clients this week that looked at their statement and brought it to me and thought they were up 10%. So they're in mutual funds. They were Steve Rosenberg's clients 20 years ago, and he put them in a fund that they have stayed in, which has been actually a really good fund, and it's prominently in technology stocks right now. So that's worked out really well. I had never met them before, but they wanted to come in and talk about retirement planning and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, so they showed me their statement, and they said they were up 10%. So I took the fund that they were in, and I went to Yahoo Finance and printed it out and showed them that the fund was actually down 20%. So they were down 30% when the market took a hit. They've recovered 10%, but they're still down 20%. It all depends on the time frame you see on your statement as to what you believe is going on. So look at the big picture. Yahoo Finance is free, very easy to navigate. You go to the site, you have all the S&P, gold, silver, bonds, everything right there in the top of the screen. It's a great website and great articles, and it's not biased, it's not political, it's just purely information.
And what you get when you go to yahoo.com is just the free site.
YahooFinance.com.
I'm saying Yahoo. Then you can subscribe while you're there to a higher level, and that includes very in-depth articles and analysis through the finance app. You're going to get finance for free to start with, but it's at one level. You have to subscribe to get to the next level, and just take a look at what it's offering you. So if you really like to do a deep dive into the holdings or potential holdings for yourself, then that's a good place to go.
So when I have a client coming in with unique holdings, it's just my go-to because it's so easy. It is so easy to navigate. Anyways, so check it out. So Genworth Long-Term Care Insurance.
This is a nightmare.
Did you receive a letter from them if you have Genworth Long-Term Care Insurance? I've met with a number of clients who signed up for Genworth Long-Term Care Insurance years ago, and now they're receiving a letter stating that their coverage will have to change or their premiums are going up dramatically and that they could go up even further next year. If this is you, please read the letter carefully. I met with clients yesterday who are going through this, and I'm reading the settlement information regarding how much premiums will go up next year, and there are 4 options. Were you wanting to say something?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, please don't just throw it in the trash.
Oh, yeah.
One of the comments that we received talking to this couple was it looked like just standard marketing stuff from
like
the company,
junk
mail. And he almost threw it in the garbage. Then he opened it up and saw options on there, like choose option 1, 2, or 3. And he's glad he read it.
And if you don't do anything, your premiums are going to go up automatically.
Yep.
Because they can't afford to cover what they promised. And it's a disaster. But this case was the best one that I've seen so far. And so I'm reading the options. I just slow down and read the options. And what we did is choose option 4 because it said your premium will go up 0% on policies with limited benefits and a 1% compound or no compound inflation benefit. They currently had a compound inflation rider. We've switched over to having no inflation rider, so their premium will not go. It's actually going to go down, and their benefit amount is actually going to stay stagnant.
Are these standardized letters and like one size fits all, or
no.
are they customized to the specific individual?
They're customized.
Yeah.
I've seen 3 different letters now. The first one I saw was a client who had unlimited lifetime benefits with an inflation rider, and she got hammered by this because they're like, we can't honor that, we can't afford it, and so they're going back on what they promised when you signed up. So please don't throw the letter in the trash. If you need help looking at it, bring it to me. I'm not going to charge anything because I want you to make the best right decision because it's very confusing and it's long and it's complicated, and so just get help from your financial advisor. United Auto Workers union strike. So the previous show just covered this, but I have to bring it up in case you didn't hear Doug Steffen. Specific sectors of GM, which assembles mid-sized trucks and full-size vans, Stellantis, which makes the Jeep Wrangler and Gladiator, and Ford, which is the Ranger, mid-sized pickup and Bronco SUV, went on. So it's only segments of these companies went on strike last night, 13,000 workers, while the remaining workers will continue to show up and do their jobs. This allows the UAW to keep its $825 million strike fund going as long as possible while the union pursues its strategy. The UAW will pay striking workers $500 a week to cover costs and expenses. Initially, the UAW asked for wage increases of 46% over 3 years, eliminating compensation tiers for new and old workers, which makes no sense to me, restoring cost of living adjustments, and to provide a new pension plan and to reduce the work week to 32 hours instead of 40. The financial pain would be costly for auto workers, the big 3, and the U.S. economy overall, and drive up the price of cars. Bernie Sanders was expected to speak last night at their rally, and he fits right in with this whole mindset. The bottom line, don't shop for a car right now. The prices were already higher, and they could possibly get worse. All this on top of Biden wanting to increase the mile per gallon mandate to 58 miles per gallon by 2032. I couldn't see if this has been passed, but it puts more pressure on manufacturers to build EVs. This is up from the current 49 mile per gallon required by 2026.
Right.
And let's go to the phones. Good morning. You're on with Randy and Sherri.
Yes, this is your cousin again.
Hey, good morning.
Are you selling cars these days?
No. But I just wanted to reflect on the effects of this strike, and it's against what they call the big 3.
Right.
Well, let me tell you, Toyota, Nissan, Hyundai, Kia, they are laughing themselves all the way to the
That's a great point.
Now, why did they pick out the big 3? Why did they pick out the big 3 to go on strike against? I cannot understand that.
Yeah.
Because, we've got a Nissan plant up near Nashville. We've got a Hyundai plant, Kia plants all over the place. And they are not Volkswagen and Chattanooga.
Maybe they're trying to push them harder towards the EV.
Well, you know what? I am down on EVs because of their raping our earth. And it's just not feasible. Our future fuels for all cars is going to be hydrogen.
Right.
Most plentiful.
That's what we believe.
In all of the universe, And I've studied that stuff for umpteen dozen years, and we've even got a patent on the cleanest automotive fuel on the planet, but they locked us out. Okay, and we worked on that for a number of years. So, but anyhow,
which one was
that? Well, we were AMA racing fuels for AMA drag bikes for a number of years. Had world champions and this and that and the other. And it's been tested in every sophisticated laboratory in the United States. and it's even cleaner than the Endolene Clear, which is supposed to be the cleanest fuel in the world. When they measured nitrous oxides coming out of the exhaust, they couldn't even measure it. It was less than 0.00015 parts per billion.
Wow.
So we had a clean fuel, and the industry does not want it.
You know, it's really nice to know that we got somebody smart in our family.
Well, let me tell you, we did years of research on it, and we used methanol instead of ethanol, which ethanol is terrible. It's caused the 750-mile dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico from the nitrogen that has to be fed to the corn, okay? And I was in the clean city stuff in the state of Georgia for a number of years when they first started doing the E85. And so I have extensive backgrounds on all of that stuff. Been studying it for umpteen dozen years, but they don't want a clean energy policy. And EVs will never, ever, never work.
Yeah, they're just not going to be clean.
It's a fail.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They ran a test on an electric bus from somewhere on the East Coast out to California against a diesel truck. Diesel truck made it there in 2.5 days. It took 18 days for the electric bus to make it because they had to stop and charge it up every 300 or 400 miles for 8 or 10 hours. It ain't gonna work. That's all it is.
Yeah, then you have to stay in a hotel or sleep in your car.
Well, and we've got an article we're going to talk about in a few minutes just about the charging stations, which is just another whole ball of wax.
Let me tell you, a guy took a radiation element of device up to these charging stations, and even when they aren't owned, you have
they're emanating.
At 30 feet, it's dangerous. At 20 feet, it's like sticking when you're that close, and especially if the car is being charged.
What?
20 feet, it's like sticking your head in a microwave oven. No, this is absolutely true. And,
oh my gosh!
And people are sitting in their cars for it to be charged for an hour or two. And let me tell you, you're going to have some health problems that show up.
Wow.
Within the next 10 years, it is going to be killing people left and right. But they do want to eliminate some of our population, don't they?
Oh, my gosh.
But anyhow, just to give you a little bit of background on my background there.
Well, that was very nice.
That's fascinating.
And, I hope that some of your listeners accept that. I've studied this stuff for a long, long time.
Well, thank you for letting us know all that. That's some stuff I did not know, especially about what's being emanated at the charging.
I need
point.
to look that one up.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right. And listen, I'm really, really a blessed man, and just a secondary thing is my oldest sister, Lola Ann Williams, passed away from Alzheimer's, and we're having her services today.
Oh, wow. That's right.
A lot of my friends listen to y'all, and they mention something to me every time I get on with y'all. So, love y'all like kinfolk.
Oh,
likewise.
You're so sweet.
Thanks for that phone call. That was great.
God bless.
You
Bye-bye.
too.
Wow, that was a great call.
That was a great call.
And here's the thing. We're going to talk about these charging stations in a few minutes. The older these systems get, as just through use and just age, it's only going to emanate more of the bad.
I've got to look that up. I've got to research that.
So anyway, moving on. The Consumer Price Index increased 3.7% last month from a year earlier as gas prices jumped. But the underlying price pressures were likely modest enough to keep the Fed on track and hold the rate steady until next week, at least. The U.S. and the Vietnam have begun a historic partnership. Vietnam added the U.S. to its top diplomatic partners over the weekend. It also announced a landmark deal between Boeing and Vietnam Airlines. As part of that deal, which is worth $7.8 billion, Boeing will send 50 of its 737 MAX jets to boost the presence in the region. But more groundbreaking, the U.S. and Vietnam formed a partnership to boost semiconductor manufacturing and rare earth developments.
Excelente.
Everyone's calling right at the period today.
Yeah,
the
timing is perfect. Good morning. You're on with Randy and Sherri.
Good morning.
Hey, Robin.
Listener from Perry, Georgia.
How are you, Robin?
How you doing?
We're great.
Well, first of all, I thought that you would probably say when you first come on the air, how did you do on the test?
It was a learning experience. I liked it so much, I'm going to take it a second time. How's that?
Yeah, keep him out of trouble for a while.
But thanks for asking.
I had to take it again myself there, but I decided not to even take it. So that's how I felt about it. But I'm sure that you will eventually.
I licked my wounds and I learned my lessons. So.
And we ordered study materials from a different company.
Yeah.
There was stuff on the test that wasn't even in the book that he was studying, so that's pretty much a big fail. But anyways, onward and upward.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I would like to say one or two things as far as, not to change the topic, but anyway, Fort Valley State will be playing today at home at 6 p.m. against the Edward Waters down in Jacksonville, Florida. That's where the shooting was at. The killing at the guy who, I guess, the racist that he was just killing black people down there in Jacksonville, Florida. But anyway, Edward Waters is in Jacksonville. They'll be here in Fort Valley, their college team. So I'd like to just throw that out. And also about I know you are against, as far as Sherri, she's against the EV, the electric vehicles. But now this thing, as far as I know that the batteries, they may be giving off radiation, and I just got through having 44 days of radiation for prostate cancer, and hopefully it was good as far as the radiation is concerned. But anyway, as far as the batteries that we're using, I'm still pushing for, and I don't know why they won't try to get solar. It's the cleanest and the cheapest that we got. The sun have been around ever since day one, and they're going to be around forever and ever. And we need
until it blows up.
Do what now?
Until it blows up.
Well, when it blows up, that's it there. But I think the good Lord up there above, he gonna have it around until he say well done. So
well,
but we need to find a way to.
Yeah, back to the solar for a second, though. The photovoltaic cells that they have to use to capture that, they also use rare earth minerals. And so we're in this loop here of having to use a diminishing resource. And that's the problem we have with the EVs. Now, granted, they are working on different kinds of batteries, and that's kind of my hope, that they're going to be able to get rid of the lithium and some of these rare earth minerals and find something like, say, algae, something that no one wants to eat or use to cure world hunger, So, but we have this problem, and hydrogen, like we mentioned earlier, doesn't have that problem. So this is the problem with with the United States, is we have a one-track mind. We get on. Somebody says we need to go electricity, for everything, and then they fail to think about how much it takes to get it out of the ground, get it shipped to where it was going to be refined, and then down to the consumer. It's a lot. The logistics trail there is huge. So finding an option that doesn't have that is the better solution, in our opinion. We're not necessarily against an alternative to ICE, the internal combustion engine. We're against, or we don't like, knee-jerk reactions that cause more pain in the end than they're worth.
Well,
drill, baby, drill.
One thing I like to say, as far as where I work at, as far as even with the fault lift, they've been using the battery for ever and ever, and has been around forever and ever. And I guess this is what they're going to just try to get from the fault lift to the car. And what I need to also mention too, in which I thought of this many years ago, but I guess people don't see how I think, how I feel about the future. But anyway, the tires, even on the fault lift, are made up almost of pure rubber. And what we need to do with all the rubber tires that are being thrown away, in which most cities don't even want you to throw those tires away, is that if they can find a way to recycle those tires so they can be completed all tired. I know they're going to be a lot heavier, but it would be, you can put some grooves in them so that they can last a lot longer. And recycle, I'm just one person who just believes in recycling.
Right.
Oh, we do too. In our automotive business, we have to, every tire that comes off the car, we have to pay a fee, basically, to have it recycled. And there's a company, I think that it's in High Falls, that we take them to, Jackson, that we take them to. And those tires at that facility are, first, they're stripped of their steel-belted radials, or the steel out of them, which goes into another recycling process. But all the rubber itself is turned into small pellets, which they are shipping off to somewhere in Asia, and they're using them to fire their furnaces. But the furnaces that they're putting this stuff into are clean. By the time they burn the rubber, which burns extremely hot, which is what they need, then they reclaim the exhaust basically, and basically run it through a giant muffler, I guess, a carbon catcher, and it turns it clean. So there are processes out there that are recycling these rubber tires, but then again, you turn around and you see some of these storage facilities, they catch fire once in a while, and it burns for weeks because there's just so much, fuel there to burn. But they're in the process, of trying to do more of that, which is wonderful.
Well, that's good. And last but not least, I know you all are going to talk about the strike, and President Biden, he is correct as far as where he's saying he's the most pro union guy as far as being president. But now what he is saying, and which is true, they have been making a tremendous profit, and this is what I guess Sherri, she's basically saying this is a capitalist society, and we're supposed to make as much as we can, which is good. But what they are doing, they want to keep all the profit to themselves, the executives, the chief executive officers, and yet still the employees who are doing all the work, they are getting paid little or nothing, which is, I guess, it just remind me of when the United States was in existence, where they had a system where they were paying their employees 0 cents, getting them from Africa and bringing them over here in America, and of course we call it slavery. And the best way, I guess, from that is that they get the slaves to have to pay them.
Robin, let's get back to the union strike, okay?
Oh, okay, then I'll let you go then. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks,
right.
Robin. Bye.
Bye-bye.
What is the average UAW auto workers' wage? Full-time employees at the Big Three make an average of $18 to $32 an hour, depending on seniority.
Okay. No, he has some good points, but you go back and look at the UPS strike. They got 43% pay raise. That's just crazy. I mean, and
they don't have overtime.
Yeah.
No mandatory overtime.
Anyways,
back to
Sherri. Is it time to clean out your medicine cabinet?
An advisory panel to the FDA declared Tuesday that an ingredient in widely used oral decongestants doesn't work, setting the stage for dozens of products to be removed from the U.S. store shelves. At issue is phenylephrine, an almost century-old ingredient in over-the-counter pills, syrups, and liquids to clear up congestion. Phenylephrine, first permitted for use in 1938, didn't go through the rigorous clinical trials that regulators require today. Why aren't they looking at anything today? Why is it just now that they're figuring this out? It's been out since 1938. This doesn't make sense to me at all. Anyways, more recent studies found the ingredient to be ineffective at relieving congestion. The latest research prompted pharmacists and physicians to call for ending the sales of these drugs. So if you have these medications in your cabinet, take a look and see if they have phenylephrine in them. Advil, Benadryl, Dayquil, Flonase, NyQuil, Robitussin, Sudafed, Theraflu, and Tylenol. Now, you were saying it. I haven't looked at ours because they're all packed up. They're all packed up in a box because we're getting ready to move stuff. And so I couldn't pull any of our stuff and look at it. But you might want to look in your medicine cabinet and see if it's really what you think it is. Anyways.
Agreed. Anyway, online grocery prices show the first decline in 27 months, and that's according to an Adobe report. Online grocery prices fell by 0.2% in August compared with the previous month, which is the first such drop in 27 months. While grocery prices in August were 5% higher than earlier, the month-over-month decline is significant because it breaks a more than 2-year-long pattern of steadily rising online grocery prices. While other online groceries have been showing consistent price decreases throughout the year, the grocery category has resisted that trend, with prices reflecting the continued strong demand for online grocery shopping.
But overall, online prices were down 3.2% compared to a year ago, and it was the 12th consecutive month of year-over-year price declines, according to Adobe.
Right.
I've just noticed the vegetable prices are a lot better. I bought a pile to cook this weekend, and I thought they were really cheap compared to what they were a year ago, but I haven't been tracking this stuff.
Well, that's awesome. Well, the latest DPI report shows that categories that saw their sales soar during the pandemic are now seeing the impact of reduced demand.
Which simply means that demand or lack thereof is forcing companies to reduce prices. I was reading a newsletter that we subscribed to yesterday, and the author stated that Dick's Sporting Goods, Macy's, Foot Locker, Kohl's, Land's End, and Walgreens profits are all down, and most have lower stock values due to low sales.
Right. Computer prices were down 14.2% annually, and electronics were down 11.6% year over year. Appliances, home and garden, and sporting goods were all down more than 6% on an annual basis. Flowers, though, and related gifts were the categories where they took the biggest hit, and they're down 31% in demand.
It makes you feel like they must have just jacked up the price because they could.
Probably.
Yeah.
But well, think about supply and demand. If they didn't have the supply coming in, they couldn't do it, so they had to raise prices. So
we've been saying for a while that it will be up to the consumer spending habits to help moderate prices. Since credit card debt has ballooned, people are more careful in their spending, and this reduction in consumer spending is helping bring the cost down. Manufacturers will once again need to compete based on value. Either way, it is good to see the prices are falling.
Right, and Sherri, we've already reached that
halftime
mark, and you've been listening to Your Money with Randy and Sherri. Forgot who I was. With Randy and Sherri Goss with Rosenberg Finance Group. Right. And if you'd like to call in today to contribute to the show, the number is 478-742-0940. And we do appreciate the callers we've already had. That was a good conversation. Rosenberg Financial Group has offices in Macon and Warner Robins, and you can learn more about us by visiting our website, retirerelax.com. We do offer complimentary consultations, and setting up an appointment is really easy. Just call our office at 478-922-8100. And
what?
Go ahead.
Oil prices are surging again, but this time Biden has way less ammunition to bring them down. The federal government released 180 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve as oil prices soared in the aftermath of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the turmoil in energy markets that followed. Flooding the market with all that supply helped bring oil prices down and helped cool inflation, which has shot up as well.
Anyway, I remember reading that the U.S. uses about 20 million barrels of oil per day. So that equals 9 days worth of oil, right? But a barrel contains 42 gallons of oil, and that translates into about 6 weeks worth of gas for one car that averages 30 miles per gallon. So you can see that it's not just as simple as dividing the total withdrawn from the SPR and dividing it by the average number of barrels used in a day. So
earlier this year, the administration took some steps to start refilling the SPR, but while it has ticked up slightly, the level remains near 40-year lows at about 350 million barrels. That's less than half of the all-time high from 2010 and about 40% below where it was when the withdrawals began. As you probably already know, the U.S. SPR is the largest in the world and stands ready to deliver on its mission to respond to supply disruptions, providing relief when needed most. Another U.S. stockpile of oil comes from commercial inventories, which sit at about 416 million barrels, but that source tends to be more volatile than the SPR and has dropped 21% from a year ago. Meanwhile, Brent crude prices recently hit a 10-month high, having jumped more than 20% since late June. And U.S. gas prices hit their highest summertime levels in over a decade, even as the driving season has ended.
Yeah, and price increases are not going to get better. Saudi Arabia and Russia have announced that they would extend their oil production cuts through December.
Right. And the stock market has started to feel the ripple effects from rising oil prices, especially in the manufacturing sector. With prices for crude and refined fuels shooting up, investors are growing more concerned that inflation will rear its ugly head after more than a year of slowing down. And that could force the Federal Reserve to keep benchmark rates higher for longer. Last month, the Biden administration canceled plans to add 6 million barrels back into the reserve, saying the price of oil at the time didn't offer taxpayers a good deal. Prices have since continued to march higher, and Congress nixed its earlier plans to sell 140 million barrels from the SPR over the next 3 years in a spending bill that was passed in December. To be sure, the U.S. can also pump plenty of oil, We became the world's biggest oil producer over the last 2 decades as a shale boom unlocked huge volumes in Texas, New Mexico, and North Dakota. But the Energy Department recently estimated that the top U.S. shale regions will continue pumping less oil this month after hitting a record high in July.
And over the longer term, the production capacity of shale oil or shale wells is looking less robust. Research from Inverse recently said that the natural drop-off rate in a well output is much steeper than originally thought. So, oil companies must drill new wells at a faster clip just to maintain the output. But the government seems to be set on not letting oil producers do what they do best: drill, pump, and refine oil. And here's an example of what I'm talking about. The governor of Alaska, Mike Dunleavy, is accusing the president of violating the laws after the Biden administration pulled the plug on established oil leases. Dunleavy said on the Kudlow Report this week that if Biden administration is willing to break this law, he's surely going to be breaking others. And once again, Alaska feels like the victim under this administration. So, what is he talking about? It's the fact that the Biden administration canceled several oil and gas leases which were just issued in early 2021 to an Alaskan State Economic Development Agency by the U.S. government. Specifically, the Department of the Interior rescinded 7 10-year leases spanning 365,000 acres in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, or ANWR. These leases were held by the Alaskan Industrial and Export Authority and supported by a wide range of stakeholders, including lawmakers and Native Alaskans. Dunleavy also said this makes absolutely no sense from any perspective unless your goal is to drive up the cost of oil and gas so much that it makes certain renewables cheaper.
That is a known fact, and one we have discussed before. They also increased the fuel economy standards to very lofty heights a few months back. The feeling is the same in the manufacturing arena. Increase the cost of internal combustion engines, or ICE, to make electric vehicles more attractive.
And the DOI also issued a proposal to block off 13 million acres of land across the National Petroleum Reserve, an area in the North Slope borough of Alaska, which was set aside by Congress for resource development, an additional 2.8 million acres in the Beaufort Sea off the North Atlantic coast. Dunleavy was on quite a rant. He went on to say that the items we just mentioned were just 2 of the 55 actions that the federal government under this administration is perpetrating against Alaska right now.
So Dunleavy made the comment that Russia, China, Saudi, and Iran are laughing at Biden's energy policy. He said he can't find anywhere in history of nation-states or empires where a country works so hard at hobbling themselves to such a degree that's happening currently with this administration.
Yeah, these actions are just the latest in a political jousting match over the long protected Arctic National Wildlife Refuge and would prohibit drilling in an area the size of Switzerland inside Alaska's petroleum reserve.
Good morning. You're on with Randy and Sherri.
Good morning, Randy and Sherri.
Good morning.
Another great show.
Or should I call you a hot rod?
Yeah. I was listening earlier, and you've been talking about the electric vehicles.
Right.
The thing about it is, it's a fine idea, but as it currently exists, it's unsustainable, to borrow a word that the young'uns like these days. The fact of the matter is that there just does not exist the materials necessary to make all the batteries that everybody would need if we all were to have an electric vehicle.
True.
That's right.
In its current form. And, you know, if you just sat down and said we're going to make cars for everybody now and people are going to stop driving gas-powered cars, everybody gets an electric vehicle, we'll just give them one. The materials don't exist. They aren't there.
Not on the scale that they want.
How much you dig and how much you find and everything, it's not there.
Right.
Also, the current electric grid can't take that much charging. Can't do it. So you don't have the material to make all the batteries, and you don't have the electricity to charge them, even if you did have the material. So, it's a great idea, but it is not doable.
And, you know, we're getting ready to talk about an article about the hackers that just got to MGM. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. Think about these charging stations. How hard would it be to shut down that grid?
Oh, not hard at all. Oh, man, that would put us quite a pickle.
Right?
I have always said that the electric vehicle is a good idea. Just not as they have it right now. Now, let me ask you guys this question. Have you ever seen one of these little emergency weather battery-powered radios?
Yes.
That have a little hand crank?
Yes.
And you crank it up and you get to listen. You don't have to have a place to plug it in, and it doesn't even need batteries.
We have one.
I've got one too. Well, the electric car, can run on the same principle, because when a car moves, 4 tires are turning. Find a way to make those tires send a spark of electricity into a collecting battery and has some sort of dynamo under the hood, and the electric car becomes self-powering. Now, I have talked about this with a bunch of other people. I'm no scientist. I'm no engineer. And they say, oh, I don't know if they could do something like that, or there's conductivity problems or anything like that. To which I always reply, 100-something years ago, they thought sending rocket ships to the moon was science fiction.
I agree with you, and I think they have some cars that have been doing that with a regenerative process. I just don't know where they're weak in this. Maybe it's the weight of the car takes more energy to power it than you're generating through that. But it's a great idea. I agree with you.
Yeah, hopefully it's something that they can work on, because like I said, the electric car we got right now, it can't work.
How do you like your electric car?
I don't have one.
Oh, I thought you just said you did.
Gas powered. No.
Oh, I thought you said you did.
No, he's not going to get one.
No.
So hell freezes over.
Wait until they sell one of those for $2,000 and a little change.
Right.
So it's interesting because Ford about 10 years ago came out with a solar car, and it was going to be the roof of the car was a solar panel, because that's what they were trying to create, and it just couldn't absorb enough. It wasn't efficient enough to run the car. But there's a lot of people trying to figure this thing out. We will get there at some point.
It'll take a little while, but hopefully we will.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be one specific answer. You can have several options, like the electric, the hydrogen.
Well, what's so cool is the whole world is trying to figure this out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was a little bit like flying a plane over a century ago.
Right.
Everybody in the world was trying to figure out how to do it until Orville and Wilbur put one in the air.
Right.
That's right.
So
and then they saw the principles of it.
Come up with an electric vehicle that could be self-sustaining.
Right.
Excellent.
Yes.
Good call.
Great call.
Thanks so much.
Guys, have a good one.
Thank you.
You
See
too.
later. Bye-bye.
Let's flip to the next article. I'm burned out in this other one.
Anyway, basically you're getting ready to see a big food fight in Alaska, so it should be interesting to watch. Anyway, last week Sherri talked about the hospitals in the U.S. that were being hacked, and now MGM has been hacked. All Alpha, it's like Alpha with a V on the end. Maybe they can't spell. They can hack, but they can't spell. It's a ransomware group. What they did to compromise the MGM reports was simple. All they did is they went to LinkedIn. They found a employee, and then they got some information about that employee off of LinkedIn, and then they had a 10-minute phone call with the IT department at MGM, and then they took the entire organization down. A source speculated that ALF initiated the ransomware attack on MGM because everything was offline, and if you're going to go in stealthy and steal some data, then do something with it, then everything wouldn't be down.
It was speculated in a post on X, which used to be Twitter, that MGM wouldn't pay. And on Wednesday, MGM posted a note on its site noting it was currently unavailable.
Right. It was probably a Post-it note on the front door. Anyway, the note advised visitors to use the MGM Rewards app for reservations. It also guided customers to other websites to buy tickets, such as Ticketmaster. On Wednesday, a paper note was handed to guests at the MGM Bellagio property saying that the issue impacted the resort's internal network, were affecting the MGM's resort mobile app as well, and other systems. The note said that the room access would actually require a physical key card. Hotel phones were inoperable. Credit for gameplay with the use of the MGM Rewards card will be credited back to the client at a later date. And restaurant reservations were encouraged to be made in person. This is a nightmare. And it just goes to prove that anyone is susceptible to hackers.
Right. Internet-enabled crimes and cyber intrusions are becoming increasingly sophisticated and preventing them requires each user to always be aware and on guard. Here are some cyber safety tips. Keep systems and software up to date and install a strong, reputable antivirus program. Be careful when connecting to a public Wi-Fi network, and do not conduct any sensitive transactions, including purchases, when on a public network.
Yeah, and if you're in Starbucks and they're having a nice latte and a scone, you think, I'm just going to go take care of this. I'm going to order this from Amazon. Don't do it. Wait until you get home, because those networks, just because they say they're private, they may not be.
So create a strong and unique passphrase for each online account and change the passphrase regularly. Let me reiterate this: a fresh password for each account.
And if you use a software program, say such as a RoboForm, you have to be careful there too. While you feel like it's all locked down, nice and safe, if you leave your computer unsecured and use a common password, then they can get into your password manager, and then they got access to everything.
Bank accounts.
Yeah, everything.
Set up multi-factor authentication on all accounts that allow it. I know they can be irritating, but unless the hacker has your mobile phone to receive the two-factor code, they won't be able to get in. Examine the email address in all correspondence and scrutinize website URLs before responding to a message or visiting a site. Just put your cursor over the name and take a look at what it really is. Don't click on anything in unsolicited emails or text messages. Don't even open them. Be cautious about the information you share. On that line, I have clients that come to see me and they can't figure out how to turn their cell phones off. And so it rings while we're meeting, and they answer every call. Mm-hmm. I do not answer a call unless I recognize who the call is coming from, which is why I don't get robocalls.
If it's a legitimate phone call, like say from a doctor or your bank or whatever, they're going to leave a voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
Use that technology to your benefit.
Every time you answer a call and it's somebody you don't know, you open the door for something bad to happen, as far as I'm concerned. Don't click on anything in unsolicited emails or text messages. Don't even open them. Be cautious about the information you share in online profiles and social media accounts. Sharing things like pet names, schools, and family members can give scammers the hints they need to guess your passwords or the answers to your account security questions. Don't send payments to unknown people or organizations that are seeking monetary support and urge immediate action. Do not react to that.
That's right.
It's usually a scam, and you'll figure it out later.
Too late. Just because you receive an email does not mean you need to open it or read it or respond to it. All these steps are the ones we hear that are preached by anyone presenting cyber safeguards. But look at what happened in this case. Someone called and was able to overcome the intensely secure casino. And if you've ever been to a casino, you know the amount of security that goes on there. And it's amazing to me that a $43 billion company could be overcome by a 10-minute conversation.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
It blows mine. They spend millions of dollars on digital protection for their firm, and this took less than 10 minutes. So be careful. And be careful, like Sherri said, on what you post. I would recommend some sort of verbal password for your family. If anyone calls you in the middle of the night and they say they can't provide a password, then you know they are not who they say they are. Look, cyber crimes are a part of our lives, an unfortunate part, but we need to understand the problem and work towards limiting your own personal exposure. Don't stick your head in the sand. Do some research on the topic and figure out a method to better protect yourself.
And if you have aging parents, please talk with them about this and make sure you do everything you can to prevent them from being taken advantage of, because they are vulnerable.
Yeah, a lot of times they're sitting around the house, nothing to do, and they're looking. They're
on the internet.
They're on the internet, and it's real easy to go down that rabbit hole. Really easy. And so people will go out there and they'll post exactly what they know that they've been searching, because every time you sit down at your computer and you look off to the right hand side and they go, oh my goodness, they're offering this to me. How did they know I wanted that? It's because you've searched for it, and if they can do that, the hackers are doing it to you as well.
So even Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg can't find a reliable EV charger. We should have had this bumped up in the radio show for the other stuff. America's electric vehicle drivers are increasingly unhappy with public charging as problems that include glitchy or inoperable equipment, and it seems to be getting worse, not better. Now the U.S. government plans to launch a $100 million effort to try to tackle the reliability issue and make public charging less annoying and more consistent.
Wait a minute. The government just subsidized the installation of chargers, and now we're going to foot the bill for to repair substandard equipment and installations. Are these companies too big to fail? Why don't the companies who own the charging companies repair their substandard equipment and repair the mistakes they made during their own installation. Now,
Right.
I understand some of these just get old, but they're the ones that are we're paying to pull up to a charger and charge our car. Why don't they fix it?
Right, I don't understand it. The funding aims to repair and replace thousands of old or out-of-commission chargers that are contributing to a roll-of-the-dice sensation among EV drivers who never know what they might find. According to a J.D. Power study, around 20% of public charging stations outside of the Tesla network are broken. The money, which comes out of a fund approved in 2021's bipartisan infrastructure bill, will target more than 6,000 existing chargers. That's not very many in need of repair. And in case you're running the numbers in your mental calculator, that equates to $16,666 per charger that was classified as temporarily unavailable. Yes. That seems high to me. You would assume the infrastructure to support the charging station is in place. It would be replacing or repairing the existing charger. According to Energy 5, a new Level 2 charger runs between $1,200 and $6,000 each, depending on the vendor. A Level 3 charger, which is considered a fast charge, can cost $30,000 to $80,000 or more. Buttigieg, who owns a hybrid minivan, is no stranger to the frustration of unreliable equipment. He recently said that his family has had several negative experiences with poorly maintained chargers. If you own an electric vehicle and want to share your charging story, give us a call, 478-742-0940. We'd be curious about your experience with the charging. All I know is you have to have it's like a part-time job. If you travel at all, I mean, you're constantly sitting somewhere, like we talked about earlier.
So the stay-at-home spouse would be staying at the charging station.
There you
go. Anyway, it's not just Biden, but plenty of Americans are now working into their 80s. Octogenarians outside the executive branch are also extending their careers. A Washington Post analysis using data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that working octogenarians reached a high in 2019 with roughly 734,000 in the U.S. workforce that year compared to roughly 110,000 in 1980. And that's a huge shift. Although the share of Americans age 80 and over with a job has tumbled from its high in 2018, there are still plenty of older workers working past typical retirement age. There are many possible reasons for this to include the desire for a purpose, a need for an income, or medical advancements that would keep people working well into their golden years. It could also be because older workers have become more empowered. Employers court older workers and in many cases entice them to not retire at all, or at least not at all at one time, and work their way into their retirement. I had a friend at the base that wanted to retire, and they just gave her the world. And they said, just come in 30 hours a week, and in 2 years from now, make it down to 20. And that's what a lot of people across the
that needs to be
workforce,
happening is phase out.
It's great.
A slow phase out so you can train other people instead of just cold turkey leaving.
Yep. So why do here's the other thing. If you enjoy it, why stop working? That's kind of like us, Some seniors have a working retirement for a sense of purpose, while others are forced to do it because they need the paycheck. Modern health care advances are enabling people over the age of 80 to enjoy higher functioning health care for longer than in the past. And older people who often remain in the workforce retire to start businesses or volunteer in order to stay mentally stimulated.
I know many people who say they will always work. Mm-hmm. Working provides a sense of fulfillment and purpose they have while they're working. There's an added benefit. Research confirms the health benefits of being fulfilled. A 2018 study published by the Center for Retirement Research showed that working longer is associated with lower mortality, lower depression, and a lower risk of diabetes for both men and women.
In general, many older people simply just can't afford to retire. An AARP survey found that 42% of those surveyed are working in retirement or think they will need to due to the financial reasons. And that's evidenced by poverty rates among older Americans, which is higher than a decade ago. The poverty rate for people who are at least 65 years old have increased from 9% in 2020 to 10.3% in 2021, according to the Census Bureau data. However, not all older Americans want to keep working as they get older and will exit the labor force, and this will compound the current hiring issues that we currently hear about. According to a recent report from Indeed and Glassdoor on long-term labor market trends, there's been a demographic shift of the aging population. which means that hiring will remain challenging for years as labor supplies issues will remain. And that's the case in the U.S. and other countries as well.
So what this means is there is still room in the labor market if you are a senior and want a job. And a bonus if you get back to work and haven't applied for Social Security, your monthly income will possibly increase once you do apply, because the longer you wait, the higher your benefit, and the more you work, the longer you work, the higher your benefit, depending on the pay.
Right.
But anyways, so this is a story that I want to tell you guys. We have a few minutes left. Maybe it's because I grew up on a farm and had to watch Dad worry about rainfall, pest damage, hailstorms, crop yields, and machinery breakdowns, etc. But I am a worst-case scenario planner. Worst-case scenario planning gives me peace of mind, and I try to use this with my clients. Here are some cases I'm currently working on. I recently saw a client who is 59, works full-time, and is now overseeing the care of her mother. She took time off to spend a week with her in the hospital, then 2 weeks in rehab, then moved her home and has hired daily caregiver assistant. She has done a great job. She is very engaged with everything going on with her mom, from the medication she takes to the care she is receiving. She has overseen visits from home health nurses, speech therapy, PT, OT, skilled nursing care, and more. She's the one that figured out some scary symptoms were caused by medication Mom was taking and made the doctor change the meds, which fixed the problem. She's the reason her mom is able to stand and walk to the bathroom. She is on this every day and working full-time and wishes she could quit her job, but she needs health insurance. I asked Jonathan Eisner who he would contact for health insurance quotes, and we both agreed that Heart of Georgia Insurance Brokers is a place to go because we both used them in the past. So Jonathan did me a favor and reached out to them for me, and they came back with 84 options and added that if she had to quit her job to be a full-time caregiver, that she could receive a subsidy. I looked it up, and here's what I found. If your income is no more than 400% above the poverty level, currently under $110,000 for a family of 4 or under $54,000 for an individual, you may qualify for a government subsidy to help pay for part of your insurance. State exchanges and some online markets can administer those subsidies. I am trusting this to be true, but have never had anyone mention anything like this to me before. So I'll share what I learned from my client if she quits her job. Because we talk with all our clients about what is going on in their personal lives, we can provide advice and support. And so if you're interested in this yourself, if you're a full-time caregiver and working full-time and driving yourself into the ground for just to have health insurance, call Heart of Georgia Insurance in Macon. There is an individual there that can get back to you and help you figure out how this works. So if you and your family are going through a rough time, call and make an appointment to talk through it with us. We're a safe place for you to visit, as we do not try to sell you anything. We are certified financial planners, and we'll do our best to guide you in the right direction based on what is going on in your life.
That's right. Anyway, all right, here's the next iteration in the financial independence thing. It's dollar cost averaging. It's a very simple concept. But investing can be challenging. Even experienced investors who try to time the market to buy at the most opportune moments can come up short. Dollar cost averaging involves investing the same amount of money in a target security at regular intervals over a certain period of time, regardless of the price. By using dollar cost averaging, investors may lower their average cost per share and reduce the impact of volatility in their portfolios. A prime example of long-term dollar cost averaging is the use of a 401k plan, which employees invest regularly in regardless of the price of the investment. With a 401k plan, employees can choose the amount they wish to contribute, as well as those investments offered by the plan in which to invest. Then, the investments are made automatically every pay period. Depending on the markets, employees might see a larger or smaller number of securities added to their accounts. Most of the prospective clients that we see are investing 100% in the target date retirement fund, and that aligns with the tentative retirement date. Now, if you have access to an employer-sponsored plan, you should take advantage of it, especially if they're offering a matching contribution. If they offer a 3% match to your 3% contribution of pre-tax money, then you're already up 100%. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it used to be back in the day that the advisors over these plans would come to the company and do presentations and see people individually. And what I'm hearing from everybody is nobody does that anymore. They're just out there on their own, which is why they're picking a target date retirement fund. And I've seen people that have target date retirement funds that actually do align with when they retire, but I've seen people also have target date funds that are like 2023, but they're going to work for 10 more years. So look at your 401k and see what you're in. And if you're not sure you're in the right thing, call the company that does the 401k and ask to speak to an advisor and get some help, because they have to talk to you. And don't just go out there alone and feel like you don't know what you're doing. But get some advice and help from the company that's paying for these people to come in and help you.
That's right. Don't stick your head in the sand on this either. You know, it's your retirement, so
which is a big deal.
Take charge of it. So anyway, thanks for listening to Your Money, produced by Rosenberg Financial Group. As financial advisors, the main thing that we do is provide retirement planning advice and manage our clients' investment accounts. And if you're looking for a financial advisor, please contact our office to set up a complimentary consultation. And our office number is 478-922-8100. And you can learn more about us by visiting our website, retirerelax.com. If you have a question or topic you'd like for us to cover next week or in a future broadcast, email me at randy@rfmoney.com. And we look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth.